Welcome to Pensari Basketball Live. The Toronto Raptors beat the world champs. And if you're wondering if the world champs played Jayson Tatum, they did. If you're wondering if they played Jaylen Brown, they did. If you're wondering if Al Horford and Derrick White played, they did. The Celtics competed in this game. Unfortunately for them, the Toronto Raptors in their first game at Scotiabank competed harder. The Raptors moved to 2-0 with the Canada advantage, and I'm here for it. Now, before I overreact immensely, because I wanted this one really badly, given the conversation that's been going around Toronto Raptor land over the last couple of days, please let me preface this is preseason. It's not a playoff game, it's not a regular season game, but this is pride. It's pride on the line. And if you think this was just the Scottie Barnes show, you're crazy. This is not just the Scottie Barnes show. There's so much to break down in this game. And luckily for you, we have about 6 minutes of film in this game. So we're going to look at all of it. We're going to take your calls. We're going to react. Grab your beer, man. It's a Tuesday night. I don't care. Enjoy it because the Toronto Raptors competed their guts out tonight. They may have taken this game very seriously, and they should have, because it's not every single day that you get to tune up your wheels against the best team in the NBA. And Scottie Barnes answered the call. A lot of people chirping, a lot of people saying, come on, Paolo, come on. I have legitimately been on the panel, and people have laughed me off that platform. Because I keep saying Scottie's a top 15 player. I legit think the guy is a top 15 player, and tonight he looked like it. His defense on Jayson Tatum was incredible, but it goes beyond Scottie. The synergy between Scottie Barnes and Gradey Dick needs to be examined, needs to be studied. It was awesome tonight. Man, this is the vision. You can just imagine Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri in the back saying, oh man, if this clicks, this is exactly what we had in mind. Darko Rajakovic, I think he coached a hell of a game tonight, and some of the stuff that he's been preaching in terms of ball movement, cuts to the basket, smart reads, dribble handoffs, 0.5 basketball, all of that was on display today, and you did it against a team that pretty much preaches the same principles, and you beat them at their own game while they were pretty much fully loaded, okay? And you were not. I didn't even mention that part. Immanuel Quickley did not play tonight. RJ Barrett did not play tonight. Kelly Olynyk did not play tonight. Bruce Brown did not play tonight. Jacoby Walter did not play tonight. I'll tell you who did play. Bruno Fernando played a lot of minutes tonight. Jonathan Mobo played minutes tonight. Okay. It's a mixed bag. So let's talk about a lot of the good. And then we'll get to the little bit of bad. And then we'll get to the stats. And then we'll get to the film. And then we'll get to the callers. Let's do this. Good. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about, the good and bad and expand on things as the callers call in. If you do want to call in link is in the description. We can have a very lively conversation. Okay. The good. Scottie, Gradey, check. Darko, check. Who else was good tonight? Well, there is one guy that I formally need to apologize for all the shit that I've talked about him since we traded for him, and that's Davion Mitchell. Look, man, I don't have any high hopes that Davion Mitchell is going to materialize into some high-end rotation guard, but tonight he was instrumental. I liked his defense. I love the fact that he was pretty good with his decision-making. There were a couple of bad ones. There were a couple of great ones. There was a great pass. So, you see the vision, you see it and you're like, man, if he plays 12 to 15 minutes off the bench, might be decent. Jamal Shed did go out with some calf stiffness, hoping for good stuff from him. I hope that he is healthy. He was not having a great game, just to be fair, before he went out. Jonathan Mobo did not have the greatest game, but we're sticking on the positives here. And I think Jonathan Mobo even had some very impressive stretches, including that steal on Jaylen Brown, which I thought was immaculate. Jamison Battle. Awesome. Would it be weird if in a game where Scottie Barnes had 26 points, 10 assists, 9 rebounds, that I gave the game ball to somebody else? Any guesses on who gets my game ball tonight? I mean, Scottie and Gradey were incredible, but do you know who really blew me away today and played so incredibly well? Any guesses? I'm gonna put it up. Hello, 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all know it. Y'all know me way too well. Ochai Agbaji and his defense his crashing the glass, his continual effort on the back line, protecting the rim, helping some of those undersized lineups, shooting with confidence. He even hit a midi pull up. Okay. Ochai Abaji. Okay. So here's the thing. I've been really high on Scottie and Gradey throughout. Pretty much like Scottie since we're talking like grade school, high school, Gradey since we drafted him the day after. So I'm not expecting these guys to blow me away. But Davion and Ochai, I kind of sold my stock on Davion and Ochai in preseason. I was like, I don't know. You got to be able to score. You got to be able to shoot. These guys aren't really scoring threats, but man, this Darko's offense is making them better, right? And the thing is with Darko is everyone's gotten better. Give any player a reasonable amount of time with this guy and they get better. And this track record did not start in Toronto. It started in San Antonio, Memphis, OKC. He's been doing this his whole damn life. That's why they hired him. And you know what? If Ochai and Davion have finally spent enough time with him and they've been training together all summer that it's finally starting to click for them with him. Wow. What a beautiful thing to have off your bench is 2 second draft guys. I mean, let's not even mention the fact that you pretty much took Ochai Abaji as a contract filler. Let's not even mention the fact that you got 2 second round picks in order for that, and you got Sasha Vezenkov off your books for $0. If if Davion Mitchell actually turns into something for you, that would be incredible. Ochai Abaji, yes, you did give up a late first round pick, but right now he looks like he's worth it. He looks like he's absolutely worth it. I mean, a defensive stopper at about 6'5" with a decent wingspan who crashes the glass, can protect the paint, can really guard the perimeter. You can unleash him on the opposing team's best player and he can hold water. I mean, he looked great against Jaylen Brown. He looked great against Jayson Tatum. He looked really good. He looked really good tonight. I was impressed with these dudes. Let's take a look at the box score before we look at the some of the film, and the film is going to impress it's going to impress you a lot. Uh, Ochai Abaji, team leading plus 29. They were incredible. Every time he was on the floor, they were great. Jakob Pertl plus 25. I was just listening to a Raptor space where this guy, was going off on like Jakob Pertl so terrible. Jakob's shut the hell up, man. Jakob was impressive tonight. You do not get this win without him. 15 points, 16 rebounds, just cleaning up the glass. Yak and Scottie both suffered from the same thing tonight, which is they had a great game, but just a couple turnovers that were just a little careless. Scottie had a very impressive game overall. There was one part of the game which I'm not super impressed with, and we will hone in on that because we are not a Scottie fan club. We are a Scottie support system because we support all the Raptors. But it is important to highlight the part of the game where he kind of went off the rails a little bit on that. He wanted Darko to challenge a call and whatever. I know that the entire media is going to spend the entire night talking about it. So let me just break it down for you when it happens. Chris Boucher, I have nothing positive or negative to say about Chris Boucher, lest he, try to blast me on Twitter again. I think he played fine. I'm not seeing anything of great consequence here. Anything off the bench that really stuck out to me? I'll talk a little bit more about how this game ended for you, and it was crazy. But Jameson Battle and DJ Carton, I think, deserve a lot of credit. Just overall for their poise down the stretch for this game. Jamias Ramsey 1 for 6, shot 1 for 5 from 3. Jonathan Mobo, really decent defense, probably one of his worst games so far. He scored 0 points, grabbed 1 rebound, 1 assist in 14 minutes, and was a team worst -28. It was a second quarter stretch. Basically, to start this game out, the Raptors opened the first quarter 46-27. And yes, that was mainly the starters. It was that second quarter, unfortunately, when the Celtics caught up, and it was largely a lineup anchored by Jonathan Mobo. And yeah, it did not look good. It was a lot of Jonathan Mobo, a little bit of Jameson Battle, Chris Boucher, Bruno Fernando, that unit. Unfortunately, Scottie was on the floor with that unit, so he took a couple of L's for that as well. But that just was not a good unit to put up against the Celtics. I do appreciate that Darko kept a shooter like Jameson Battle on the court. It did provide a little bit more spacing. But overall, at the half, the Raptors were in a dogfight. And against a team that is considerably better than you, against a team that is expected to compete for championships this year, and they could have folded. They really could have imploded, and they didn't. They didn't. They competed. They maintained their poise, and I think that that was just the most commendable thing. And then in the third quarter, just to look at the game cast here to show you how this game sort of broke down. That's pretty much how it broke down. So the Raptors, they were playing them neck and neck till about the first quarter, 7:41, and that was an explosive three after three after three after three from Scottie, which we'll look at. And then the Raptors just pulled away. It was 38-20. It eventually was 44-20. Yes, the Raptors smacked the Celtics first unit with pretty much their third unit and Yak plus Scottie and Gradey. I mean, this was as impressive as it comes in terms of delivering that blow. Did the Celtics probably come in expecting an easy game? Hell yeah. But you know what? The Raptors went into Boston expecting an easy game. They didn't get one. And these were very similar games. The difference is these are not very similar teams. People laugh at this, laugh at the Raptors. Today, they did a power ranking on the panel. They put the Raptors at 11th in the East. Boston is unanimously first. So, yes, you are punching up 2 weight classes here. Then, of course, the entire game just flipped right around here. And, it's tied. It goes to 40-46, and suddenly you're in a dogfight for your life. And then right around the third quarter, Jakob Poeltl makes a tip shot. Then it was Grady Dick makes 2 points. I think he was very instrumental. Oach was incredibly impressive. Davion Mitchell making a 3. Scottie did a lot of his scoring damage in the first half. So much for Josh Lewinberg saying he doesn't show up in the first 3 quarters. He did all of his damage in the first 3 quarters, pretty much. And yeah, I think Scottie's defense was really good on Jayson Tatum during that stretch. And overall, the Raptors do clear the bench around this time, around the 5-minute mark. They're up 108-99. And yes, from that stretch to the end of the game, it was a game. And it came down to DJ Carton, Brandon Carlson, and Jamison Battle. And I'm gonna say, I want to keep this live very positive. But during that stretch, I almost pulled my hair out with what Bruno Fernando was doing. It was so bad. Like, it was self-inflicted, boneheaded play after boneheaded play. And the worst part is he's supposed to be the best player on the court. You're sharing the court with rookies and G League guys, G League hopefuls. And I am very thankful that he fouled out of this game, because I don't know how that last play goes. But a pull up 3 from JD Davidson pushes the Celtics up to 118. It was 118, 117. And then a broken play, DJ Carton, Jamison Battle, dive to the floor. Good effort from Brandon Carlson. Battle finds Carton. Carton tries to put the Celtics big man, Nemes Keita, I believe, on a poster, goes to the line, sinks 2 free throws, incredible poise. And then the Celtics have about 9 seconds, I believe, to end this game on a buzzer beater. And it's Brandon Carlson who comes to the rescue on, I believe it was a Jordan Walsh drive. So that was just overall the game in summation. To look at the team stats, the Raptors shot the piss out of the basketball, initially in the first quarter, but it went away right towards the fourth. But it is worth noting that while the starters were playing the starters, the Raptors won those minutes significantly. And it wasn't really until, and because the Raptors are so depleted and are way more injured right now than the Celtics, it is unfortunately minutes that included guys like Jonathan Mobo, Jamal Shed, etc., guys who probably aren't in your key 7-man, 8-man rotation, which is exactly what you would be playing if you were in a dogfight against this team. So I think that it bodes very well for you that you did this without your key guys, because you're missing 4, possibly 5 guys who are ahead of most of the guys who played tonight. And I just think that this was an excellent treat for the fans who paid to show up. I looked at tickets. I think there were tickets going for as much as $200-$300 for a preseason game against the Celtics, where almost nobody played. And before we look at the highlights and stuff, and I do want to get into those, I do want to say one thing very quickly, and I want to say this because I don't think that it gets said enough. Hang on one second. Let me remove this and then pull it up again. And again, if you want to call in, definitely call in. Okay. So one thing that I think is worth saying is there was the potential that this could have been very embarrassing for the Raptors. Okay. Given the overreaction and the crazy reactions on social media, okay. Simp Exterminator saying 200 for preseason. What the fuck? You should have seen what courtside tickets were going for this game, bro. It was bad. Sean S saying 500 viewers for a preseason game. Let's go. Let's get it up to 800. I mean, this was a big game. Guys, make sure as you're viewing, please do me the smallest favor. Hit like on your way in. I would really appreciate it. Okay. Let's get to a couple of super chats and then I'll share my overall messaging on just how I feel about this. But Noble Venom saying, I know everyone will talk about Dick and Scottie, but I really like what I saw from Ochai. I've been impressed. Yes, sir. Cass 2929, and his name is Scott Wayne Barnes Jr. Let him know. Let him know, man. League alerts. You know, I got all my friends tweeting me, posting like, oh my God, were you right about Scottie? Hell yes, I've been right about Scottie. I literally made a video yesterday saying, shut the hell up. I know I'm going to be right about this guy. Of course we're right about him. This community's been right about Scottie every way, every step of the way. And tonight, he looked every bit a top 15 player. Don't tell me Julius Randle's better than him. Don't tell me Paolo Banchero's better than him. Paolo Banchero don't do this. Come on. Okay. Before we get into the tape, the Toronto Raptors were coming off a gut check loss against the Boston Celtics. A lot of bad things were said online. Things that include Scottie Barnes didn't work hard. Scottie Barnes is too distracted. This team is ass. Masai needs to be fired. Darko is not a good coach. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So listen, weak-willed people would probably take a look at the Boston Celtics 4-0 in preseason, finishing out. Obviously, they wanted to go 5-0. Please believe me, they wanted to go 5-0. There was a lot of pride on the line here. You could say they don't care about preseason. This is a team that blew out the Sixers by 50. They are doing the exact opposite of a championship hangover. Like they're trying to go out and actually compete. Like I saw the Celtics competing on defense. You may not say they're not giving game 7 effort. Shit, nobody is. But they were trying to win this game. You might have caught them sleeping. Maybe they came in a little bit relaxed, but they tried to win this game. And the truth is that there was a very big potential for a 40 to 50 point loss easily. The over under, sorry, the plus minus on the Vegas odds was plus 9.5. 9.5 for the road team. That is a recipe for Vegas thinks you're about to get blown out. Okay. So I don't think anyone would have bat an eye if Jakob Poeltl on his birthday, Scottie Barnes, who is a franchise player who's already secured the max, just said, you know what? I don't really feel like getting maligned by the media. Let me just sit this one out. I mean, you got Joel Embiid refusing to play back-to-backs. This is the coddled NBA. Welcome to the coddled NBA. But these two, as leaders of this team, decided, hey, our teammates are out. We're at home in front of our home crowd. Let's go out and give them a solid effort. I'm not overreacting to preseason, but I love this team. I really do. There's gonna be ups and downs all year. We made a video about it literally yesterday saying overreacting to preseason is crazy. So I'm not about to break every single rule that I set out in that video and then overreact to the win because I didn't overreact to the loss and I'm not overreacting to the win. I'm just insanely proud of a team that was so depleted, so undermanned, coming off of all the crap that has been said about this team and them stunning the champs on the road and ruining their perfect record. It's great. And there's so much to take away from this game. Let's take a look at some of the film. First of all, Paradise Lost with the super chat here saying, go Raptors. Go Raptors. Absolutely. I made a video on X saying, support the Raptors to get the F off my timeline. I really do mean it. And I realize I'm the person who, has been very critical of this team in the past, and that's sort of my reputation, but I'm supporting this team full throttle the whole way through. I don't give a shit. I am supporting this team. And it's because I really believe in this process. I really believe in the young players. And, you're going to see why in 2 seconds. Let's take a look. Okay, Grady Dick. Al Horford has not read the scouting report on Grady Dick, has he? Okay. So Grady has unlocked two things here. And if Horford is going to stay backed off, and I love the fact that Grady didn't make up his mind coming off the screen because Yak is rolling. So if Horford comes up and hugs him, that's an open dunk. And Gradey is a good enough passer to make this, but Horford is splitting the difference between them, and he's not even close. And Gradey is gonna wet this shot. And he made his bread and butter from mid-range and from three tonight. I loved it. Here's Davion running the point. Okay. This is gonna be a good one. Okay, nice pass to Scottie Barnes. Once again, Jaylen Brown gets a little bit lost in transition. They let him shoot, and he is going to bury this. And this is not the first or last time that he's going to do this. Okay, Scottie Barnes coming down in transition. I love the verve and force with which Scottie played tonight. Just the speed and pace with which he played tonight was beautiful. Here comes Scottie. Dribble handoff for sets the screen here for Davion Mitchell. Okay. And Jayson Tatum miscommunicates this. Scottie Barnes. Again, scouting report on Scottie is he wants to get to the basket. He's a reluctant shooter. Well, not tonight. You better get up on that, Jayson Tatum. Can't wait to show Chilltown this tomorrow. My goat is cooking your goat. Okay. All right. And the reason this is so funny, and I don't want to get a copyright strike for this, but this play is just going to continue. And I just, I could have clipped this. I probably should have clipped this because continuous play is really bad. Hang on. Let me just make this small, big, small, big. Okay. Here we're going to see a little bit of, okay. Good defense, Davion and Ochai. Celtics really, and you know what I loved about Davion, and generally speaking, what I like about guards with his build is you think you have a mismatch, but you don't. And here you're going to see Jaylen Brown thinking, hey, mouse in the house, mouse in the house. And just like we find out with Kyle Lowry and guys like that, it's not so easy to score on guys who are this stocky and this strong. And I don't remember if he scores on this play. He might. Yeah, he does. This is bad defense because, he forces him into a tough shot, but he doesn't contest on the finish. And he'll probably look back on this. This is definitely going in. Yes, it does. But don't hang your head because just a few seconds after Scottie splashed that three, and you're thinking, he's not going to do it again. And look at the pace with which he's bringing the ball up the court. This is how he got 10 assists. He attacks so early. And again, Yak sets the screen. Horford is not reacting. Horford is trying to play drop on Scottie Barnes because that's what you're used to, right? You're used to going under on the screen with Scottie. But Scottie's like, you know what? Not this year, bro. Confidently. That's 5 seconds into the shot clock. Even the Phoenix Suns were 7 seconds or less. Scottie Barnes is pushing the limits on that. Here we go. Davion Mitchell. Okay. Does Davion see Ochai here? Nope. Payton Pritchard closes the gap. Davion, he's going to find Scottie Barnes. Jayson Tatum, just a little bit too much space, Jayson Tatum. A little bit too much. It's contested. This counts as contested. For the tracking data, this is contested, but it's just too late. You're a little too late. And the truth is, when defenses start to close that gap on him and they start to try to press him off the line, his one stride dribble is going to push him right into the middle of the floor. And then, as we're going to see later, you have to understand how hard it is to go from a quote unquote zero level scorer, Sam Vecini, you dummy, to this. In 3 years, bro, come on now. 3 years, you're confidently splashing a near triple double. You're 4 for 5 from three in the first 7 minutes of the first quarter. And and it was a game plan, right? The minute they started instead of Ochai Agbaji and Davion Mitchell, no disrespect. There's levels to this. Okay. Here's Scottie. I believe this is yes. So this is to close out. This is to close out the second quarter. And this is Scottie Barnes in isolation. Again, unassisted, right? If you want to talk about bucket getters, this is exactly what I'm told he cannot do. Oh, he's not a bucket getter. He's not smooth like Cade. He's not Luka. Close your eyes and tell me this is not exactly what Luka would have done in this situation. It's exactly what Luka Doncic would have done in this situation. Brush, boom. I mean, the only difference here is Luka would have faded away. That's it. That's the only difference. Scottie's bigger, stronger, and that's what's going to happen. Now we morph to the second half, I believe. Scottie Barnes getting in the middle of the floor. Gradey. Okay. Yes, sir. Gradey Dick. Brilliant. I love that Gradey is going right into the defense. Y'all realize when I made that video breaking down defense breaking down some Gradey tape last time, I was saying he keeps going away from the defense. Today he went right into the defense. Luke Cornett is not a non-shot blocker. Al Horford's not a non-shot blocker. So he's attacking a pretty good defense routinely. Okay. Love it. Now, this is Shacked in a full time just to break up all the positivity. Here's Bruno Fernando deciding he wants the basketball, which is just like, what the hell, man? Bruno was on like some crazy timing today. Like, I don't know what he was doing. Like, I think he was playing drunk or something. Okay. That was Gradey just making a layup. Okay. Scottie to Ochai. Nice little flick shot there. Okay. Let's continue on. Bit of defense here. Good transition. I like the pickup point. This is what the Raptors been preaching. And honestly, I just love the defense, the defensive effort, and the attention to detail. Look at Ochai guarding the finals MVP. Okay. Staying on bounds, staying on bounds, staying on bounds, and watch Gradey attack the ball. Love it. Love it. This is exactly what you want to do because Jaylen Brown does not see the floor. If you think Jaylen Brown's a top 20 player, you're stupid. You don't see the game. I'm not trying to get hyper about this, but just because the guy won finals MVP does not mean he doesn't make stupid mistakes like this all the goddamn time. And Gradey Dick understands. Watch this again. Just watch it. Look at Jaylen Brown's head when Gradey attacks the basketball. Boom. This is exactly when you got to attack. This is right here. You got to attack the weak. You got to attack a weak ball handler and a weak passer when they do this. Because right now, Jaylen Brown has a massive blind spot. And Gradey, amazing attention to detail on defense to close that blind spot and absolutely attack the basketball without fouling. Beautiful. Look at that. And the effort. Love it. Okay. This is a clear foul. Like, I'm sick and tired of the Raptors getting fouled and not getting friggin' plays. That's just not nice. Okay. 87-78, third quarter. Let's go. Scottie Barnes on the break to Davion Mitchell. Davion to Gradey. This is going to be a miss. But I just want to point out how quickly these decisions were made between three guys who haven't spent a great deal of time playing together. Okay, these aren't guys who've had chemistry for 3 years, but they're playing like they've had chemistry for a few years playing together. I love it. Okay, this is DJ Carton to Jakob Poeltl, and Jakob Poeltl is going to find Gradey Dick. This is the advantage of having good passers playing that big position. Look at that beautiful pass right over the defense, and Gradey, once again, finishing into the defense, not away from the defense, not shying away from contact. He went right into it. Beautiful. Loved it. Okay. This is Jonathan Mobo, probably the highlight of the night for Jonathan, if I'm being completely honest. And this is, him just, again, cookies. That's a rookie taking the basketball away from the finals MVP that people have been trying to tell me all goddamn offseason might be one of the top 15 players in the NBA. Not even close. Okay. And Jonathan Mobo, and he has to foul him. Okay. 87-81. DJ Carton. Oh, sorry. This is the same play again. My mistake. Maybe I liked it so much I had to watch it twice. Okay. Same play again. Love it. Okay. This is Scottie going down. This is such a beautiful pass. Like, he's so underrated. But you know what? As much as you're going to give credit to Scottie for this pass, look at Jayson Tatum's positioning and Gradey Dick flying on the angle to the cut. I mean, Scottie sucks the defense up. And this is the whole advantage to him shooting early, is right now, Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman are high up on Scottie because Xavier Tillman cannot guard him, and Luke Cornett is providing help in the middle of the court. And that means the paint is wide open. And Gradey Dick is a really smart player. So there's a couple things that are going to be helped. Number one, it helps to have a jumbo playmaker who can actually make this pass over the defense, even when the defender that he's making it over is, by the way, according to Crafted NBA, Xavier Tillman is a 93rd percentile defender as a 3-4, okay, or a 4-5, if you will. He's a really good defender. Jayson Tatum, I'm told, is a top 20 defender in the NBA. You're having to make this pass through two incredible defenders. And by the way, if you decide to cheat it away, you got Derrick White right there. So this is a great defensive team. I mean, the Celtics really, I mean, I did the analytics on this last year. They're a historically good team. Okay. And a lot of the guys that make them historically good are on the court right now. So to make this pass, number one, is incredible without getting a turnover. But what I think is extra incredible is not only the chemistry between these two, but Grady's read on this and then his finish on it was just awesome. So love it. Finish through contact. Now, this is the low point of Scottie Barnes' night. Scottie is very upset that Darko is not challenging a particular turnover where the ball flew out of bounds and he thinks it was tipped and he's going to get lost. So he's demanding a call. Look at Scottie this whole way through. And again, this is what people complain about sometimes. This is not a Scottie slander pod. To those who know, those of you who know me, he's my favorite player in the NBA. But call an ace and ace. This shit has to stop because in a tough playoff series, if you do this, this is how you cost your team a game. Watch this. Okay, this is an error on top of an error, and I hope somebody shows Scottie this. Okay, look at this. He's trying to communicate to Darko Rajakovic. Why are you not calling the foul? Like, why are you not calling a timeout to challenge it? He's pissed, okay? And he turns his back. Derrick White is not a dummy. Davion gets picked by Luke Cornett. And Derrick White, before Scottie Barnes can even realize what's happening, because he's emotionally reacting to this, Derrick White is going to hit a three. And Scottie Barnes is going to do the thing that an emotional player does, is he swears at his coach and says, what the fuck? Why are you not calling? Why are you not doing this? And you love the fact that he's juiced up. I love the fact that he cares. I love the fact that he's so emotional. I love the fact, but you got to control that shit. You can't be doing this when your team is hanging in the balance 96-101. And then the worst part is he's going to compound one mistake with another mistake with a third mistake in a row. Watch this. Now he's going to set a moving screen. And he's going to bump Jayson Tatum. And phenomenal acting job, by the way, by Jayson Tatum. He deserves a fucking Oscar for this. But he knocks Jayson Tatum right in front of the referee. Referee calls a foul. That is 2 turnovers in 10 seconds and a three, which he gave up. That's how you cost your team a game. And unfortunately, if the Raptors do go on to lose this, that's the play you look back to and say, wow, what a swing. You lost 2 possessions and you gave up 3 points. That shit has to be cut out. You cannot be doing that as a leader of the team. Okay. So don't ever tell me that I don't criticize Scottie as well. I'll keep a buck. Okay. Now here's one more play here. This is the beginning of the game. For some reason, we're back at the beginning. So let's get out of here and let us get to some callers. We have 3 callers here and we have a super chat from the homie Nick. So sad that I watched every minute of Sunday's game, but I missed out on seeing the game tonight. Nice to see this analysis of play now. Well, my friend, I hope you catch it on replay. It's a game worth watching. Okay. First, okay. Call-in link is in the description below. We're going to keep calls to about 5 minutes. 5 minutes max. We have 3 callers in line. Tetrahedron, Scottie Too Hottie, and Mubz. I believe 2 of you have called in before. So let's get to some of those calls. And again, if you want to call in, link is in the description below. Tetrahedron, what's going on?
Hey, Rob, how you doing?
I'm great. I'm absolutely fantastic. How are you doing?
This game was just fantastic to watch.
Yeah.
Just the way I thought of it when I was watching that first quarter, I was just like, this is poetry in motion. This is what Rob said. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. You're going to see it down the line. This is a glimpse of what we're going to see later on.
Yeah. I think Cheyenne Syed is saying it perfectly. Imagine Gradey in a couple of years. Imagine Jacoby in a couple of years.
Well, we haven't seen him yet too much because, unfortunately, the injury, but I can't wait. But like you said about Gradey, his touch around the basket, regardless of his 3-point shooting, his touch around the basket has just become unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm so impressed with the pace at which he's improving defensively. Point of attack stuff is going to be overblown with Gradey, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes he gives a blow by. He's also taking on some very different matchups, like very difficult matchups.
Oh
He's
yeah.
not supposed to be able to keep Payton Pritchard in front of him. I don't know one player in the NBA that can keep Payton Pritchard in front of them. And if you read the isolation stats, you'll find out that Payton Pritchard, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, led the entire playoffs last year in points per possession on isolation. He's
Well, it makes
really
sense.
good. He's really good.
He's
If people think of him as,
fast.
he's incredibly fast. He's incredibly good shooter.
Yes.
He's one of the best backup guards in the league, period. So, no, you're not supposed to be able to stop Payton Pritchard just because you haven't heard of him because you're a casual basketball observer. The issue is that when you are a 6'8" guy who's a rookie who's still trying to find your bearings and find, how much space can I give still? There was a moment where I think there is a shot where Gradey had some tight quarters and he had to pretty much manufacture a shot out of nothing, and Derrick White got the block on a jump shot. That's not the first time that's happened to Gradey either. I think something might need to be done to speed up the release just a little bit, because it's not necessarily a great. I mean, Derrick White is hella long and a great defender and probably an all-league defender, but maybe not the greatest thing that your 6'8" shooter is getting blocked by a 6'3" guard.
But Gradey just has to get there. Like, he's not finished.
Oh yeah. He's going to be so much better than this. Yes, I have absolutely no doubt that Gradey Dick is going to be like an incredible player. Like anything I thought when we drafted him of like, oh, maybe he's Kevin Huerter plus. Oh shit, that went out the door last year. Like when I started looking at his high school tape, and that's the thing. Like I focused way too much pre-draft on his Kansas tape, and I didn't see it. But it's the same thing that I'm seeing with Jacoby. It's like, the reason that I read Scottie accurately is not because I saw him at Florida State. It's because I saw him in EYBL. That's why. The high school tape tells a different story of the progress of the player. And watching Gradey in high school was just like, you saw all of the stuff that he's doing right now. The transition, the above the break, the hot sauce handles, all of it that you were seeing, like the creativity, the freedom. Because again, the problem with the NBA is every gap closes, all the angles shrink, things get faster, and then you have to adjust, and you have this 2-3 year period where you're just trying to get stronger and trying to release everything a little bit faster just to close that gap, because there's so much more space to navigate. And if you're not necessarily the most fleet-footed, athletic, bursty kind of guy like Vince Carter, Anthony Edwards type of guy, you're probably going to struggle in the NBA initially. But Gradey has closed that gap so rapidly. This is a guy who right now, I mean, just a year ago, less than a year ago, 10 months ago, he was struggling to score a point in the G League. He looks like the worst player for the Raptors in the G League last year. I don't even think I'm stretching that.
No,
I watched those games. He looked terrible. But again, the idea of a guy who at 6'8" can be competent defensively, because, we saw a tipped pass. We saw, him getting into the passing lanes. We saw the help defense on that Jaylen Brown, blunder. We're seeing rebounding from him. So he can play a role defensively.
His mid-range is pretty tight too.
His mid-range has been dynamite so far. And, that's amazing, because teams are going to run him off the line. And he's not necessarily going to be able to finish at the rim like a big. So the idea that he is a threat to score from all three levels at 20, oh my God.
I know.
Like, this is very Klay Thompson. This is very Klay Thompson. I'm sorry. Like, I am seeing so much Klay Thompson in his game right now, and I don't want to put that on him right now because people are going to call me crazy later when he has an 0 for 9 game or whatever. But hey, Klay Thompson just had an 0 for 10 game yesterday, so I don't give a shit. No. My point is, there aren't that many 6'8" movement shooters who can also play make.
I'm not saying Larry Bird, but
no.
I know.
I mean, Larry Bird had way more primacy stuff, but I think this attempt to compare him to a white guy had everyone thinking. Everyone was thinking Doug McDermott. People were thinking Corey Kispert, and I'm like, I've never seen Doug McDermott or Corey Kispert pass like Gradey. So the playmaking and the rebounding just takes him to a completely different level. If you told me, 2 years from now that Gradey has a couple of triple doubles in a game, that wouldn't surprise me even a little bit. And that is crazy, because I don't think Klay Thompson's ever even touched a triple double. So that's the point. Like what the Raptors have done here with this young core here, and I'm not trying to overreact to one game, even though it sounds like I'm very, very hyper and I'm very excited. Of course I'm excited, and it's a brilliant window, even if it was a glimpse, even if you have 20 games like this. And again, that's what you need. You need the windows. You need the windows of when it clicks, and then you're going to have a game against Utah where you're going to lose by 20, and people are going to be like, what the hell? But that's the point. You grow this way, So Yeah.
The main thing I think that's going to stop Gradey from getting triple doubles, honestly, is guys not putting up the ball fast enough to get him assists from his passes.
I think his handle needs to get a little bit better.
Well, that's
Right now, everything's on the move. Everything is off advantage. So I would love, like, I would be very incredibly impressed. I mean, Clay Thompson's never taken more than 2-3 dribbles, necessarily into a game. His game is all very efficient. Kevin Durant's game is very 2-3 dribbles. So you don't need to be that type of player. But I would love for him to have some sort of ability to do a little bit of what RJ, Scottie, and Immanuel Quickley can do, because it'd be really nice to have Gradey anchoring a second unit one day. That would be awesome.
I think you're saying that, though, because it's very clear there's some there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not maybe there yet, but boy, if it was just a little more, there's something there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyways, any closing thoughts here? Anyone else that we haven't talked about that really stuck out for you, good or bad?
This is going to sound kind of crazy, but Mubz.
Mobo.
Was it me? Am I crazy? Because this might be kind of a hot take, but his D in the second, I thought was just relatively impressive, especially his point of attack defense. I was like, I don't remember him being that good at that. I don't remember any other time but the second.
Incredibly good. He has incredibly good length. He is incredibly strong, and he has a great ability to recover space defensively. So again, I see him eventually, when he bulks up, into a 5-4. But the Raptors are going to develop him right now until he bulks up into a 3-4. And for a guy who can eventually maybe one day play the 5, because one thing that translates very well from college, whether you're playing Division 1, whether you're playing Division 1 in the Mountain West Conference, rebounding usually translates very well. Shooting usually translates as well. So the rebounding element with him is very impressive. Even that one, which was called an offensive goaltend, I mean, it was goddamn impressive, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I just think that he is the type of guy that could be that multi-positional type of OG Anunoby type defensively, that Swiss Army knife who can. But I think OG wasn't some dominant rebounder, though. He was an okay rebounder, but he wasn't a great rebounder. Mobo, and the other difference with Mobo that I think is just so freaking underrated is he's one of the rare rebounders who can actually initiate a fast break. So again, when I think through history, who are the good rebounders who can initiate fast breaks? Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Lamar Odom, Scottie Barnes, Draymond Green, Russell Westbrook. They're just Nikola Jokic. Like, there just aren't a lot of big who can dribble up the court comfortably and make great decisions out of those plays. And the ability to do that minimizes the need to find a guard on the outlet. Lonzo Ball is another example. Like, he's a pretty good rebounder. Ben Simmons. I mean, it's not like it's completely rare, but there aren't like multiple guys in every draft who can do that. It's usually very rare. And so you take the defense, you take the positional versatility, you take the rebounding, you take the playmaking. You're like, my God, you are basically a jump shot away from being a lottery pick. So, and the beauty is, again, as a JUCO project, you just don't know how much untapped potential there is in this kid. And people like to write off.
Find it.
Right. And people like to write off 22-year-olds, but not all 22-year-olds are 22 years old. No. Like, mentally, in terms of their game, in terms of the training he's received, I always say under 26, it's fair game. After 26, it's dicey. But before 26,
well, Hawkins got drafted, what, 22, 23?
Jordan was 21. Jordan Hawkins was 21. Okay. And, he's a year older than Gradey, basically a year and a half. Anyways, thanks a lot for calling in, Tetrahedron. Always beautiful to talk to you.
I just had one other thing, just because you mentioned it earlier. Payton Pritchard. When I was watching DJ Carton, I was just thinking, boy, if he could just shoot like Payton Pritchard.
I mean, shit, if Davion Mitchell could shoot like Payton Pritchard, if anybody could shoot, if Scottie Barnes could shoot like Payton Pritchard.
I know, yeah, that's a good point.
Payton is for real. Anyways, thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Enjoy your night. Scottie Too Hottie, what's going on?
Yo, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm good. You must be very happy given your picture is Scottie holding Grady Dick's head. You must be very thrilled about tonight.
Yeah, especially after all the hate and skepticism that was going on after last time around against Boston.
Okay, I'm gonna give you 30 seconds to get off on anybody who was talking shit about Grady and Scottie. Go ahead. You got the mic. Tell them how you feel, man. Tell them how you feel.
Well, first things first, I think Scottie Barnes is definitely in a position to, be one of the faces of the NBA in the near future. I'm not really going to entertain any hate on Scottie just because I know how well he plays and how he knows the game overall. The one thing I did want to mention was earlier when you brought up the little mishap that happened at the end of the game with Scottie and being upset about the call. I feel like if I love Darko. He's a great coach. He definitely cares about his team a lot. But I feel like in that situation, had he challenged that call, I mean, that whole sequence just doesn't happen. So I don't know. What do you think about that?
He's the coach. He's the player, and you got to trust your coach. You have a particular read on it. You can talk about it at the timeout. There's a time and place for everything. I'm not going to support a player chewing out his coach for not calling a timeout, even though that player is my favorite player, right? I'm never going to support that, especially when that chewing out cost you 3 points and a turnover and an offensive foul. That being said, Darko is exactly the type of person that is going to look at that and say, my bad, I should have called the foul. I mean, I should have called a timeout. And who knows? Maybe people look at that replay and it was the wrong thing. Maybe he wanted to save it for some reason. Darko is a little bit conservative with saving his timeouts.
Yeah.
So, live and learn, move on from it. But it's a learning moment for both parties. Maybe have a better functional communication. But you know what I love is that those two, they have a great communication. There's, such a, I know what Darko is preaching because I've been reading about what he's been preaching and watching what he's been preaching for years now. And getting through to Scottie to be this assertive. So here's a stat that might blow your mind. Okay. Who do you think has a higher usage in preseason so far? Scottie Barnes or Luka Doncic?
I would definitely assume it's Luka.
It is Luka.
Yeah.
Scottie Barnes or Nikola Jokic?
I'm going to say Nikola.
Nope. Scottie Barnes or Anthony Edwards?
I'll say Anthony Edwards.
Scottie Barnes or Jayson Tatum?
That one I'm gonna go with Scottie for sure.
It's Scottie.
Yeah.
Scottie Barnes or Cade Cunningham?
I'd say Cade.
Scottie. So Scottie Barnes going into this game, and I assure you it only went up after this game, has a 32.7% usage during 2 preseason games. I got to tell you, 32% usage is like Michael Jordan shit. Like Michael Jordan was in like 32 to 36%, all the time. LeBron in his peak was there.
Yeah.
Giannis. This is primacy. This is insane level of load creation, self-generation, and everything counts for usage, right? Missed shots, made shots, turnovers, all of it. This is what you want. This is absolutely what you want. And even when it doesn't look great, and even if it results in 12 turnovers, I don't care. Because in the end, the difference between Scottie and Cade is that I know Scottie can get there. That's the only difference. It's the same thing with Luka versus, some other guy who's not Luka. I know Luka can get there. So I'll live with the mistakes with Wemby. I'll live with the mistakes with Scottie. I'll live with the mistakes with Luka. And I'm not going to live with the mistakes of Jalen Green. I'm not going to live with the mistakes of Jonathan Kuminga because there's levels and tiers to prospects. And ultimately, if you want a young player to develop, you got to give them space to expand their game. Problem is with Scottie, he's so passive at times. Last year, we were seeing him deferring to Jalen McDaniels. Like, hey, Jalen McDaniels, Malachi Flynn, you go. Oh, Gary Trent Jr., you go. Man, it's like this year, they're like, we refuse to give you anybody. You're going to play with Ochai Agbaji and Davion Mitchell until you get the hint that this is on you. You got to create. And from the first game till this game, we have seen a completely dialed in Scottie. I know it has looked good. I know it hasn't been efficient. He's missed a ton of shots. Apparently, he can't shoot threes now, according to some people. But the idea is that he's trying what he has refused to try, which is to be the primary load carrier for this team. And there were some incredible moments during this game for
Yeah,
him.
I think that's like the only thing Scotty's really missing is that level of consistency, because sometimes he can be a little passive in terms of, trying to get others involved and not so
Facts.
aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, if you look at Kawhi, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
he was probably, for that 1 year we had him,
Mm-hmm.
whenever he had the ball, his mind was already made. Like, I'm gonna get to my spot, I'm gonna rise up, I'm gonna shoot.
Mm-hmm.
If I get doubled, if there's a shot, I'm gonna take it. If not, I'm gonna make a pass. And I feel like Scotty sometimes he doesn't want to be overly aggressive, and that passiveness hurts him in a way. And I think once he learns to be consistently aggressive, he'll take off to that level of where we all really expect him to be.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Someone asked me what kind of beer I'm sipping. No free promo. Pay me, pay me if you want me to tell you what beer I'm sipping.
Yeah,
Okay,
until they cut a check, right?
Exactly. I gotta say, like, I think the thing with Scotty is his game was just, it's a very well-rounded game, but this isolation scoring stuff, the prime 32% load stuff, it comes, and again, you can take a guy like DeMar DeRozan who's been pretty much averaging 25 points per game for most of his career, but his teams are almost always better with him on the bench. Almost always his teams are better when he goes to the bench. And that's hard for people to, people who are DeMar supporters and DeMar lovers, they are very slow to understand how big a gap there is between him and Kawhi Leonard.
Huge.
It's so enormous.
Yeah.
Because
remember that playoff series against Cleveland, right before he got traded, that last postseason where I think it was game 4 when LeBron hit that game winner, and DeMar was on the bench for like the last 5 minutes of the fourth. And it took an OG corner or perimeter 3 to tie the game for us to have a chance of not getting swept. And I remember at that moment I was thinking, I'm like, wow, the Raptors are really better without DeMar on the court.
Well, it's not just that. It's, DeMar through 51 playoff games with the Toronto Raptors shot about 50% true shooting. He was, I think, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember the numbers correctly, about 9 points, like a -9 when he was on the floor relative to when he was off. They were just always better. Lineups with Lowry minus DeMar were so much better than lineups with DeMar without Lowry. And Lowry was doing so much floor raising for those Raptor teams, but the national media, Toronto media, always wanted to give credit to the 25-point per game scorer. And that's just the problem with how we think. And because Scotty hasn't been a 25-point per game scorer, people like to downplay his dominance as, oh, well, he's less than Siakam, or he's less than Fred, or he's less than DeMar. I'm pretty sure if you ask the average media person, do you think Scotty will ever be better than DeMar? They'd probably be like lukewarm on it. And it's so absurd. He's already better than him. He's considerably better than him. And he's he's just turned 23. The difference with Scotty is that he gets easy ones, as Brian has so eloquently put out. He's a great defender. He's a very, very good defender. He's positionally versatile, and he's a great passer. And he does all the small stuff. So he's like 2 players in one. So he's actually 3 players in one. So he's like this ultimate utility knife on defense. On one hand, he's this like ultimate hustle glue guy who sets all the screens and boxes out and grabs rebounds and does all the hustle dirty work. But he's also fully capable of being like a prime level offensive player like Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
And, will he ever get the touch around the rim and the jump shot and all that stuff to completely be like, it doesn't even need to get to the Kawhi Leonard standard for him to be one of the top 5 players in the league. But if it does get there, he'll be a much better passer and a better rebounder than Kawhi ever was. And that to me is just adding value. It's like at this point, it's not even forgetting, it's just extra credit. You know what I mean? So he is on a very clear path to being a top 10 player in the NBA. Tomorrow we're doing I think we're doing all NBA team, on the panel. I'm on the panel for the Player's Choice very often. I'm going to put Scotty on my all NBA and let every single American on that panel lose their friggin' mind as they call me an idiot. I don't care. I mean, I'm letting people know. And to this comment, the pressure Scotty is feeling from the fans, there's different schools of thought on this. And a lot of people feel like this community specifically, I've been dealing with a lot of comments the last few days about like, oh, you guys are expecting too much from Scottie. No, no. We're not expecting enough. Okay. And people who feel like you need to treat him with kid gloves really don't understand him and don't understand the player that he is. He wants this. As a rookie at 19 years old in his post-draft availability, he said, I think I can be one of, if not the greatest player in the NBA.
For sure.
Well, if you say that, everything's fair game. I can compare you to LeBron, Giannis, and tell your ass until you get better than those guys. And I'm going to hold him to it, and that's the pressure. At the same time, there is that protective element of, protecting him from slanderous crap. Like he doesn't work hard and all this stuff. He doesn't care. He cares way too much. He cares so much. He wanted this win. He wanted to do it for the fans. I love that about him. He got his teammates riled up. He was riled up. He's really, really like, and there was a comment the other day about like, oh, Scottie against the third string Celtics should put up 30. And I'm thinking to myself when I read that, I'm like, that's not who Scottie is.
It's not. And I feel like he plays to the level of competition a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like certain players,
which is going to help you when you get into the playoffs.
Exactly.
And it's a big game, and he can put up a game like this against the Boston Celtics or the New York Knicks. But it's not going to help you if you're a lottery team against Charlotte and he has 6 points because he just doesn't care about that game. But you know what? The greatest players ever only got up for the big games. I've listened to Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. The problem is those guys are so skilled, they can get 25 points in their sleep and nobody really notices. But Hakeem Olajuwon being able to score 30 points every single night, obviously some 30 is harder to get than other 30s, right?
Yeah.
There's the same thing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, he just walks off the bus. He has 22 points and you don't care. But it's like the 38 that he puts up on Larry Bird's Celtics. That's the one he really got up for. You know what I mean? Like,
and I feel like there's a huge emphasis on scoring in today's NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, you lose sight of certain players, greatness. Like a prime example is Scottie. I feel like he affects or impacts the game in so many ways, and it doesn't necessarily have to be scoring. Like,
yeah.
So what if he gets a 15-point game with 12 rebounds and 11 assists and we win the game? Like I'm happy with that. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
What more can you ask from your perennial all-star, face of the franchise? And like you see all these players like Luka, Shea, Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox, all these guys just putting up numbers, but they don't really like their teams never win. The goal here is to win a championship. It's not to, fill up the stat sheet like Russell Westbrook did that one year. And
you mean 20 points and 20 assists against the Charlotte Hornets isn't impressive to you?
No, I feel like that's impressive, but at the same time, I feel
that was a jab at Fred.
Oh,
you remember the 2020 game?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that. And
yeah,
for a prime example is Fred VanVleet. Like he was a great player for Toronto, but at some point he made it about himself and about his stats and his accolades, and he lost sight of what made him so good, which is playing with that pride and energy to try to win. You know what I mean? And same thing with Pascal. I love Pascal. He was great for the Raptors, but at some point he was just so consumed with becoming the next Kevin Durant or something that he lost sight of what made him really good, which is playing inside, passing the ball, scoring
and frankly playing off a great player like Kawhi. And here's the thing, like to a lot of people, I think there's still some open wounds about my coverage of Fred and Pascal on their way out. Some people still feel like, hey, we drove those guys out. We led like a media campaign against them. Here's the thing, my only beef with this entire fan base, frankly, for the last 2 years is y'all, some of you guys just failing to recognize what you have in this kid. And that's not to say it's Scottie above everything or whatever, but like it is. Tim Duncan was more important than Bruce Bowen. You can love Bruce Bowen, you can love Tony Parker, but Tim Duncan's your engine, and it's very important to identify very early on who your engine is. And I'm positive that Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster identified Scottie was their franchise player the second they drafted him. Unfortunately, they've sort of kid gloved him the entire way through, and watching him be a fifth option, getting 4 shots, was just like they're ruining him, and that unfortunately was met with a lot of media scrutiny and stuff like that. So that's why I pushed back as hard as I did. and maybe I went a little bit too far. I have nothing but respect for Fred and Pascal. I speak glowingly about them off air, but again, like my agenda was my agenda, and my agenda was make this team, build around Scottie, force him into this uncomfortable position, and get rid of that, that need to tread water. Like I don't give
Yeah,
a shit about treading water. I don't want to be a 500 team. If you ask me, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam on one hand, or tank for AJ DeBonsa in 2026 on the other hand, I'll tank for AJ DeBonsa 20 times out of
every
20.
day, every year.
High level talent to me. And again, if Fred VanVleet was Kyle Lowry, I feel very differently about it. Pascal Siakam was, Chris Bosh, or is not Chris Bosh shit. If he was Kawhi Leonard, I feel very differently about it. Now we're like, okay, we gotta fit Scottie into this. But I don't believe in compromising A1 talent for B plus. I wouldn't. So it's always the A plus talent. Anyways, any final thoughts, man?
And to piggyback on what you just said, like everything you said and mentioned about Fred, it came out to be true. He was a horrible defender at some point. A lot of his shots were he was shooting us out of games, and I felt like, at some point we had to really pivot towards Scottie, and it was evident. Like even in Scottie's rookie year, like I remember there's times when I'm getting frustrated because, he should be the number one option, but we're looking at Pascal to go through a double team in the post to get a bucket. And
I don't think
that
I
was just really
necessarily felt
frustrating.
that way. I mean, I understand the slow growth process, and I definitely never thought that Fred was a terrible defender. I actually think Fred is a great defender and probably one of the best 6 foot and under defenders I've ever seen in my life. I think, the Philly series notwithstanding, he was very compromised with his hip. But, again, nothing but love and respect to Pascal and Fred. I've made up with a lot of people that I burned bridges with on that front.
Mhm.
And, it's all water in the bridge under the bridge at this point. I think the issue is that there wasn't a logical progression with Scottie's usage within the offense. Like I'm not sitting here watching the guy go from 18 to 20% in his second year when he should be going to 25. And I'm not comfortable with him just being a catch and shoot shooter. Like this would be like if and again, people feel very differently about Anthony Edwards, first overall pick, Victor Wembanyama, first overall pick. The media covers these guys very differently. They're like, oh, of course you should turn your whole timeline over to Victor Wembanyama. Of course you should trade away DeMar DeRozan and all these players. But imagine if the Spurs came out right now and tried to treat Victor Wembanyama like he's Tyson Chandler just so they could pad the usage of Chris Paul. I think Spurs fans collectively would lose their minds. And that's the
Sure.
point. You must build around your main pieces. And I'm so happy that the Raptors are building around Scottie and Gradey and RJ and Immanuel Quickley. The timeline makes sense. The play style makes sense. The coaching makes sense. Anyways, man, thanks a lot for calling in. Was this your first time calling in?
Yes, first time. It won't be my last
Awesome.
time.
Okay.
Thank you,
Appreciate
man.
it. And look forward to hearing from you again. See
All
ya.
right, for sure.
Bye. Mubz, what's going on, man?
Yo, what's up? What's up?
What's good? What'd you think?
I think this was obviously a great game. I think our best in the preseason so far. I think this was like the most similar to a regular season game we're gonna see. Like for example, Jayson Tatum played like 34 minutes. The starters played it like in the fourth quarter. You're not really seeing that in preseason, and just what we've seen from Scottie today was just obviously incredible. Just the shooting, especially going, I think, 4 for 5 in the first quarter. That was just incredible. Gradey Dick, we know about the 3-point shooting, but what I liked about Gradey today is the mid-range shooting. When they ran him off the line and the defense. The defense was just incredible, I thought. And, that's something that Gradey is going to continue to build upon, just the defense and just becoming a three-way level scorer. And I think
Yeah, I mean, like look at how many shots Gradey hit at the basket. I mean, I don't know if you can see my screen here, but like these are Grady's makes and misses. I mean, a 29-foot above the break, a lot of above the break shots so far. 26-footer. He had another 3 at 25 feet. Then he had a mid-range shot there, and another kind of floater range, couple of shots at the basket. It was beautiful. It's like nice 3-level scoring. It's not one-dimensional. Same thing with Scottie, right? There's a 3 there, a 3 there, a 3 there. Everything's above the break, and then tons of shots in the paint. And he was perfect inside the paint. He went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 7 in the paint. Love it. And he's been dominating for mid-range, and he didn't hit a single mid-range shot tonight. So I mean, technically these were couple of these were mid-range shots, but nevertheless, I think
Yeah.
this was just a very competitive game, and the guys that you really wanted to see excel in a situation like this absolutely did.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Davion Mitchell had his
Mhm.
best game of the preseason today. Just
Easily.
defensively, we know what he does defensively, but I love the playmaking today. You know, there was a couple times where it's like a couple turnovers where I'm like, what's going on? But like, I think overall he had a good game. You know,
Mhm.
I was like from the first couple of preseason, I was skeptical, but I think he's getting more comfortable in
I
his
mean,
role.
he had 10 assists to
10
3
assists today,
turnovers. That's brilliant. That's a very good
Yeah.
3.33 ratio. That's great. 1 to 3.3 is a great assist to turnover ratio. And you know, Scottie, another high turnover game. So now he is averaging 4.66 turnovers per game in the preseason. I don't care. Honestly, the amount that he is handling the basketball right now
Yep.
is absolutely insane. But the pressure, I don't know if you're noticing this, how much pressure he is putting on the defense. Like he is
Yep.
forcing 2 to the ball
Every time.
every time. And that's friggin' amazing. That's what franchise players are supposed to do for you. So the idea that he can do that, and then on the plus side, he has actually the passing ability to exploit that. And he's doing it against probably the best defense in the NBA.
Easily.
I
Yeah.
mean, this is very impressive.
When we talk about Scottie, like, name me players in the NBA today
Mhm.
with the playmaking of Scottie Barnes, the shooting, the defending, the
Oh, yeah.
finishing, the mid-range shooting. Like, how many players in the NBA can do that like Scottie Barnes does it? I don't think there's many. You can name LeBron, maybe Giannis, but I don't think Giannis shoots like that.
LeBron
There's
doesn't
not
pass
many players.
pass or shoot like that.
Yeah.
Giannis is a better defender. I'll give
Giannis
him
is
that
definitely a better
for now.
defender.
But Scottie's no slouch on defense either. Scottie's a better passer and shooter than Giannis.
I think
Giannis is a much
Scottie-
better finisher.
Playmaking, I think he can go up to like 7 assists this year, 7.5. Like, if guys
Easy.
could just make more shots, like he
Mhm.
averaged 6 last year, and guys weren't making shots like that. Like, I swear there's so many games where I'm like, Scottie could have like 12 assists this game, but guys just weren't making shots. And I think with Gradey being a better shooter, I think RJ Quickley, like all these guys, we just have better players now. I think
Mhm.
those assist numbers are really going to rise, and people are going to start waking up to Scottie Barnes' playmaking, which is just one of his biggest, if not the biggest thing about his game that just hasn't really been, not saying it hasn't been like shown, but it's going to be shown to an elite level now.
Well, I mean, look at the head-to-head here. Jayson Tatum tonight, 24 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals in 34 minutes on 9 for 22 shooting, 5 for 14 from 3. He was settling for a lot of jumpers. Scottie Barnes went 5 for 9 from 3, took fewer shots, so 10 for 17, had more points, more rebounds, more assists. So 26 points, 9 rebounds, 10 assists. And by the way, he was pretty much a head-to-head matchup against Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum guarded him a lot. Right?
Yeah.
So he's being guarded by what I'm told is 2 of the best defenders in the league, and Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum. And granted, they didn't have Jrue Holiday today. But you know what? I'm going to complain that we didn't have RJ Barrett, Immanuel Quickley, Bruce Brown, and Kelly Olynyk. My God, we played Jamison Battle.
Those are
and
all
kudos to
rotational
Jamison
players.
Battle. But my God, like we were playing G Leaguers, like legit G Leaguers. Nothing that tonight happened, you know, this is a miracle, but like nothing is making me completely change my perspective on who some of these players are. Like they are not like top 250 guys. They're not Payton Pritchard. They're not, you know, they're not Derek White. They're not these guys. So like the Celtics, you're not supposed to beat the Celtics. Like I have argued very much that we could be competitive in a, you know, a game against Orlando, or we could be competitive against, you know, the Indianas of the league, or the Chicago's, or the Atlantas, Miamis, etc.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to beat the Celtics. You're not supposed to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. You're not supposed to beat, you know, the OKC Thunder. These are elite teams, and there are clearly tiers above. So the fact that you are able to beat the Celtics on a night where Jayson Tatum plays 34 minutes is actually pretty impressive, I would say, because, you know, a lot of people who didn't watch this game presumably because they expected a loss, and unfortunate for them, they didn't watch it. But karma's a bitch. I'm gonna say that because faithful from day one, you got to watch all the games, right?
Yep.
So I'm gonna say this: like they probably turn on the box score and they're like, "Oh, the Raptors just snuck by." Hell no, the Raptors dominated this game. They were up by 10 when they pulled their starters. and beating to go from being favored to lose by 9.5 to beating a team by 10, it's like a complete flip. That's actually pretty impressive. So kudos to the effort, and happy birthday to Jakob Poeltl. This is a big birthday. This is a bit of a birthday. Let me ask you a question. Were you a little bit nervous towards the end that they were gonna blow it?
A little bit, yeah. I'm not gonna lie, but
yeah, me too.
I'm happy we pulled it through because I feel like we definitely deserve this win. We definitely deserve it of how hard Gradey played. Everyone, Scottie, everyone. We definitely deserve this win. So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Where do you think the Raptors will be like this season, like standing wise, or the Eastern Conference standings? Like, where do you think we'll finish?
Honestly, man, I've been kind of on record that I think this team is way better than people think they are. But
I agree.
They come out and they lose to the Celtics bench, and I'm suddenly starting to feel a little bit stressed. I'll be honest, like maybe this is truth serum because I've had 2 beers tonight, and my tolerance is very low because I don't drink anymore. I used to be like the type of guy who could like push back like 7, 8 shots of whiskey, 10 shots, 15 shots of whiskey, and be perfectly fine. Now I'm like 2 beers, and I'm telling the truth on the internet. But I'm going to tell you, I was nervous about this game. I mean, I am very faithful in this Raptor team, and I believe a lot in them, but I was a little bit nervous. And as much as I've said preseason doesn't matter, there's a part of me that's a little bit worried about what people say about this team right now. And I don't know why I give a shit about what dumbasses think about this team, but there's a part of me that's just like, man, if the Raptors get smoked by 40 and I got to go to the panel tomorrow, they're going to be like, yo, you told me Scottie Barnes is a top 14 player, and now he looks like a bum, and he averaged.
Now you got to argue that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just like, man, I believe in the long-term vision. I hate the negativity around this team. I really do. I think the process is very good, and I'm just trusting my gut on this one. Movement, intelligent playmaking, big playmakers in general, movement shooters, good defenders, good positional versatility. I mean, I've been very impressed with the defense this preseason so far.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest thing holding them back. So, man, before I saw this defensive pressure, I expected them to win around 41 wins.
Right.
And I mean, that's very ambitious. But the reason for that is because Scottie's people say that he already signed his contract, but his contract is not guaranteed technically because there's still the All-NBA caveat here, where if he makes All-NBA, his contract gets bumped by $45 million. $45 million is not chump change. $45 million is more money than he's made on his entire rookie contract. That's what's at stake for having one good year. So I don't think he's I mean, shit. I don't think he's just going to let that go. So Scottie's going to come out very motivated. And I mean, not that he wouldn't be motivated otherwise, but there's an extra little tidbit of motivation there.
And $45 on the table for sure. Yeah.
45 freaking million dollars. And I mean, on top of that,
all he has to do is make a all NBA team, like first, second, or third.
First, second, third doesn't matter. And by the way, I think he could definitely make third team all NBA, but of course the voters are going to vote with the wins. And to some extent, it's going to be very difficult to. I mean, shit. He's got I think it was a 251-1 odds of winning MVP.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like, shit, man. I mean, there's a couple of things that get you MVP, and one of the things that gets you MVP is numbers, analytics. I mean, he satisfies a ton of boxes, and not to mention, I mean, I'm not saying he's going to win MVP, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a couple of MVP votes if the Raptors win 46 games. And again, this team it's just a ragtag bunch of role players, man. Like, there's so many guys with a lot to prove. There's Davion Mitchell, there's Ochai Agbaji. They've got a lot to prove in terms of just second contract, second draft guys. They're both in contract years. I mean, Davion and Ochai are like one really bad year away from minimum contracts and one more bad year away from China. So, they've got a lot on the line. Gradey has shown me incredible progress. RJ is clearly motivated. Immanual Quickley wants to justify that he signed, the contract, and he heard all the chirping about that he's overpaid, blah, 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 blah. But I think honestly, looking at the contract and looking at his flat, looks fairly paid to me. And, I love the fact that he's
how the NBA is going nowadays, giving him like it's not the end of the world. I think it's a good contract. It's like, what else? Like, we can't just lose Immanuel Quickley there. Like, it's just, we have to give him the money.
I think the argument was, who were you bidding against? But in fairness, I think the Raptors are just, like, hey, we believe in you to be this guy. And I mean, look at how we played today. And just imagine Immanuel Quickley in place of Davion Mitchell and just see how much wider those gaps would be. Like Immanuel Quickley catching the ball above the break is a heart attack because he's like a 40% 3-point shooter who will pull unconscious, right? Davion Mitchell played a hell of a game tonight. Brilliant. I was so impressed with him. Ochai played a great game. Both of these guys. I mean, and here's the thing. Technically, they're both technically defensive upgrades over the guys that they're replacing, but they're massive offensive regressions over who they're replacing. So, if Scottie's able to do this, Scottie and Gradey and Jakob are able to do this with Ochai and Davion, I'm very curious to see what they'll be able to do with their regular teammates, right? And spacing, movement, smart decision making, making people better passers, it works. And I think as much as there's a part of me that like apologized to Scottie Barnes and Gradey Dick right here because those two caught a lot of strays over the last couple of games, there's a part of me that just wants people to really acknowledge how beautiful a job Darko Rajakovic is doing.
Incredible. Just the movement, offense, just everything he brings to the table. I think last year we didn't see it as much because the team wasn't good. But I think this year we're really going to see Darko Rajakovic's offense at full display, and I think it's going to be beautiful. I think the Raptors, my prediction is I think the Raptors will definitely be a play-in team. Like, I think we'll finish between maybe 7 to 10. That's my prediction. I wouldn't mind if we tank. Like, I don't think we are, but I wouldn't mind. But I don't see this team being as bad as everyone thinks. Like, I think ESPN or whatever have the Raptors projected at like 29 wins. I think that's absolutely insane. Take the over on that.
Yeah, I mean, I did. So, I mean, like, I clearly believe that this team will be better than that. And I think a lot of the young players are better than people are giving them credit for because they're being put in positions where they have a development staff that really believes in them and is encouraging them. I think the chemistry on this team, we saw Bobby Webster on the Raptors show today with, shout outs to Blake Murphy and Matt Bonner. They're now running the Raptors show. And Bobby came on and he likened the Toronto Raptors current, roster to more of a college team than a professional team. I certainly see that. It's a lot of young guys. And I'll be honest, like there was a part of me today that was reading some quotes about, how Charles Oakley was such a hard ass on Vince Carter. And I'm like, do we need that type of personality to whip this team into shape? Do we need that type of personality to come in and, rattle some cages and really shake some guys up on? And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to trust this. It's not like I had the most optimal childhood myself. So who the hell am I to say what works and what doesn't? I think what Darko is doing works. I think positive encouragement, meeting players at their level, but being honest with them, not gassing players up and telling them exactly what they want to hear. I think a lot of people, they see Darko and they see soft. They see company man. They see a guy who's a yes man. And I don't think he's that at all. I think he's very honest with his players. I think he tells them exactly what they need to hear, but he does it in a way that's kind and not, he's demanding. He's demanding Scottie Barnes to be a leader. He's demanding Immanuel Quickley to be, a great defender. He's demanding, RJ Barrett. But something that I've learned just over the last couple of months is that if you speak and people can't hear you, you're not really communicating very well.
Right. You just lose the locker room. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, there's this old thing that, I mean, and again, it's so old, right? If a tree falls in a forest and nobody hears it, does it make a sound?
Right.
What's your answer? Does it make a sound?
It does make a sound, but no one hears it.
So it doesn't make a sound. So yeah, it took me a really long time to understand that there is a definitively correct answer to that, which is it does not make a sound. Because in order for it to make a sound, it must be heard. And in order for it to be heard, someone must be around to hear it. And so, you can scream all you want at these players. If they tune you out, you can teach them how to play offense. If they don't trust you, you can explain to a Scottie Barnes why he needs to up his usage and why he needs to lead more with his voice. And you can explain to Immanuel Quickley why he needs to finish better at the basket. But if he's not hearing you, nothing matters. And if that trust is broached or broken, and if these players don't trust you, they don't trust each other, they don't trust their vets, there's not that trust, then you have some iteration of what happened with 22-23 Raptors, right?
Right.
And if they do, then you have what happened last year, which is you're able to withstand turmoil, you're able to withstand tragedies, and you still stay together. There was a lot made of the Raptors getting beaten by the Celtics B squad, but then posting this, picture online, I don't know if you saw it, of them all smiling in the locker room. And there's probably someone out there who probably thinks, what are you smiling about? You lost to the Celtics B squad. But of course, they went home thinking, oh, we made a really good comeback. So we're not so happy with the starters who came out lackadaisical, but we're very proud of Jonathan Mobo and, the guys on that second unit who carried us back into the game, Jameson Battle, guys like that, who put us back into the game. DJ Carton, who back-to-back games has been a freaking hero, right? So this is such a great thing, and I'm so happy for all these players. I really am, from the Jameson Battles to the DJ Cartons to the Ochai Abajis to the Jamias Ramseys, and what a beautiful culture. What a beautiful culture. What a flip. What a 180 flip from how I felt about this team 2 years ago to how I feel today. Is the culture is back. This is a fun team to root for. Whether they win 48 games, whether they win 32 games, it's going to be fun.
It's going to be a fun watch. And I think that's the one thing. If I could tell one thing to every Raptors fan, like ahead of the season, I'll say that this is going to be a really fun team to watch. Whether we, like you said, win 32 games, win 48 games, whatever. It's going to be a fun watch. We're going to see a bunch of young players develop, and it's just going to be a good season. And I'm excited for this season. Absolutely. And to piggyback on your point, when you said they were smiling in the locker room after the loss, I think another, they know in a couple of days we're going to play this team again. Like, we get a chance to get back, and that's exactly what they did. So I think that's also,
absolutely. And I want to take this moment to give a big shout out to ESPN needs IKD for being a massive voice of reason on Raptors Twitter. I think I shared your tweet on the last live where we were talking about people crashing out over preseason are insane. And you were one of the lone voices of reason. So kudos to you for being a leader in this community and just preaching patience with a young team. There's going to be many moments like this. There's going to be many moments like this where you're going to upset the Denver Nuggets. You're going to beat the crap out of the OKC Thunder or something like that. And as I said earlier, there's going to be moments where you lose the Charlotte Hornets, and you're just going to have to take the ups and downs with this, because young teams are inconsistent, But when it clicks, you see a little vision into the future. You see the two-man action with Scottie and Gradey. You see glimpses of great passing from RJ. You see dominant scoring, or maybe you see a 12-3 game from Immanuel Quickley. You're like, oh my God, what if he puts this together for a whole season? And, you might even see some great stuff in the 905. I think the Raptors, given what they had going into this offseason, have had a great offseason. I'm very, very happy with the Phoenix Suns offseason because they got Ryan Dunn and Tyus Jones. They got so much.
Tyus Jones was a great pickup for them.
Great pickup. And Ryan Dunn is hitting threes. And I mean, it's amazing. What Phoenix Suns did was awesome. I think what the Milwaukee Bucks did, grabbing Gary Trent and DeLon Wright on minimums, is awesome. But I think Raptors are right up there. I think the Raptors had a really great offseason. I think I go four young guys in this draft that I really believe in. Brandon Carlson, not really sure where his NBA future is, but great game tonight. And stocking up for that draft, and the Raptors retain the ability to potentially use their mid-level exception to pivot effectively, and they can pivot in one of multiple ways. They can obviously take on a disastrous contract, buy out that contract, and get extra draft capital, or of course they can take Bruce Brown and somebody and possibly turn it into a real rotation player that could help you win right now, depending on how this season goes. But I love that they have handed the keys to the players. I really do. I love that they've basically told RJ, Scottie, and Immanuel Quickley, if you want to be good, show us you're good, and that's great. That's all you want as a player, is that my organization is giving me a chance.
The trust.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The trust.
Anyway, Mubz, any final thoughts, man?
No, just a great game. Excited for the season coming up, and thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. Yeah.
All right. I see you.
Enjoy. Okay, any further callers? I'm going to post the link in the description below. Please call in. Happy to talk to you. Even if you're not super excited about this game, we're happy to talk to you. This is not, I felt so terrible today where somebody wrote a comment, and I'm not sure who it was, and they said, please don't ban me for this, but I think Davion Mitchell has been pretty good. And I was just like, oh my God, have I given you the impression that I am that uncomfortable with someone disagreeing with me that I would ban you for thinking Davion Mitchell is good? I'm happy he was good. He was really good tonight. And, Ochai has been good for a couple games now where I've been like noticing more and more. If these two can pop for you, holy crap. Now you're really cooking with gas because, these were the two variables. These were the two swings on your roster where I wasn't very sure because I'm pretty sure long term, Jacoby's going to be a pretty good player. I'm pretty sure about that. I'm pretty sure long term that Ur Shamshay is going to work out for you. And I'm pretty sure long term that Jamal Shed and Jonathan Mobile are going to be rotation players. I'm pretty sure that this draft class we're going to look back on this draft class 2-3 years from now and say, how do we get all these guys? How the hell did this happen? I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But with Ochai and Davion, there was like some sense of like, it's been 4 years. They're older guys. I don't know if this is going to work out. Man, if that works out, that's swinging it. Okay. Now, as much as I like to take credit for being very early on Scottie, there's another person who was very early on Scottie, and I just want to take a moment to offer this to the community now that we're here, just to have some fun with this. Check this out.
23 free throws in that fourth quarter. What did you?
Thank you, Doug. That's outrageous. What happened tonight? This is completely BS. This is shame. Shame for the referees. Shame for the league to allow this. 23 free throws for them, and we get 2 free throws in the fourth quarter. Like how to play the game. I understand respect for all stars and all that, but we have star players on our team as well. How's possible that Scottie Barnes, who is all-star caliber player in this league, he goes every single time to the rim with force and trying to get to the rim without flopping and not trying to get foul calls. He gets 2 free throws for the whole game. How's that possible? How are you going to explain that to me? They had to win tonight? If that's the case, just let us know so we don't show up for the game.
I don't care what you say. I love a coach who sticks up for his players this way. All right, Daryl, what's going on, man?
Hey,
how you doing?
Good to be a Raptors fan today.
It's so nice. I was so happy for this team. They were celebrating. It was a little embarrassing, to be honest, because you could see Jayson Tatum smiling, and you could see the Raptors celebrating like they just won Game 7. But let's be honest, this was awesome. This was an awesome effort. This was a great performance from a lot of guys. I'm very proud of this team. And
for sure.
With this super chat here, Barnes and Grady's chemistry was on full display. Grady looks like he can score 15 to 20 points per game this year. Scottie's going to be a triple-double machine. Great job on the clip. Thank you so much, 2K teacher. Appreciate it. Yeah, give me your takeaways, man. What'd you think?
Yeah, well, piggybacking right on that quote that you just put up there, Grady and Scottie together. Like I remember on like the day after the draft, watching one of your videos, and you were talking about like, after watching a bunch of film and your thoughts on Grady after your initial reaction were better, and you mentioned specifically you can see why they drafted Grady as a potential fit next to Scottie. And man, your crystal ball was on point because you saw it today. You absolutely saw it today.
Yeah, so here's the thing. So I talked to so the day after Grady was drafted, it was like literally a couple hours after Grady was drafted, because I did that draft with my boy Leo. And obviously I had an expectation that we would pick Jordan Hawkins because I love the idea of Jordan with Scottie. Like Jordan Hawkins and Scottie Barnes just made so much sense to me. And after I crashed out on that live, I had this moment to just go and listen to, like, I watched more Grady high school stuff, because I was like, if the Raptors drafted him, I don't think they drafted him based on the Kansas tape. And that's when I started to see some of the playmaking stuff. And it's a similar feeling with Jacoby, because as you noticed this year, I wasn't super high on Jacoby Walter when we drafted him. I wanted us to get Nisi. But then right after the draft, I was like, okay, let me make the same mistake again. Let me go back and look at Jacoby's high school tape. And now suddenly you see all that playmaking. And you're like, shit, like both kids are very similar. There's like a very similar logic. And with both players, you see such a clear synergy with how they pair with Scottie Barnes. because again, with a dribble handoff threat like Scottie, movement shooters are like kryptonite to the defense. Because what Grady's doing, like we showed it in the clips. Like you saw the clips. How long have you been watching this?
Yeah, I know. I watched the whole show. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, just some of the stuff that they're able to do is just nuts. And I mean, again, it's just it's all about space. Like this entire equation is about space, you know, and the synergy that these two have and the shooting gravity that Grady has is just it's awesome. But it's not like people just look at 3-point shooting like in a vacuum. They say, oh, this guy shoots 37%, 36%. It's like, man, 3-point shots are not created equal. Self-generated 3-point shots, like Grady can pull in transition off the dribble. Grady can pull off the screen. Grady can come off of 2 screens, and he's great at it. Like this is a massive skill. Like I watched Rick Hamilton and Reggie Miller dominate the league with this skill, and this is a very rare skill. And of course, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, but movement shooters are like extension of so much space.
Yeah. No, I love the Reggie Miller comp there. Like I can see him having those iconic moments in his career like Reggie Miller had, you know, that people talk about 20, 30 years later. Like I don't know if he'll ever be on the level of Reggie Miller, but I mean, he's got the chops, he's got the tools, he's got the size. Like you never know.
Yeah, I remember after the draft, I remember thinking, you know, what I saw in high school gives me a little bit of hope. And the 5%, like, you know, again, 95% is different, but the 5% is the very optimistic version of me. The 5% optimistic version of me sees Jacoby Walter as like a poor man's Devin Booker. The 5% optimistic version of me sees Grady as like a poor man's Klay Thompson. And Klay Thompson, I've always thought Scottie with a prime Klay Thompson would just be freaking crazy, you know?
It would be.
And, you know, if I don't know if Grady can ever be the defensive player that Klay Thompson was, but he's already a better passer.
Yeah.
He's already a better passer. He's already a better rebounder. So if he can figure out the shooting, if he can speed that release up just a hair, just speed that release up just a little bit, just be assertive. I love the fact that he took 18 shots in that loss against Boston last game. And I love that he took as many shots as he did this game. It was great. It was very encouraging to see. And I think that people have a legit vision for the future with these two, for sure. But it's not just these two. Obviously, it's the 2 guys who are not playing as well. It's, you know, 4 or 5 guys. I mean, man, like this core is so slept on.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. What did you see? What did you see from Grady's defense that you didn't see last year that you've never seen before, like in this game?
Well, I mean, the strength is helping, right? Like immediately you're noticing that he's able to hold position on the block just a little bit better. He's maybe able to guard a little bit. Like again, there's a lot of bump. There's a lot of bumping, and you know, fighting through screens is all a matter of strength and agility and pre-planning. So it's not only strength, obviously. It's a matter of reading the scouting report, getting a little bit of know-how. But I really love, you know, okay, so here's something underrated that's happening in this picture. If you look at this picture, are you looking at the screen?
Yeah, I'm looking.
Do you see Garrett Temple in this picture?
Yeah.
Do you see who's
that? Yeah.
Do you see who he's sitting next to?
Let me make it bigger. I'm on my cell phone. Hang on a sec. Garrett is sitting next to. Oh man, it's fuzzy. Is that?
Yes, it is. It's Jacoby Walter.
It's Jacoby Walter. Yeah.
Jacoby is currently sandwiched between Garrett and Bruce, and the coaches. So there's a reason for that. Now, I talked to someone a couple of weeks ago, and I think I mentioned this in a previous live, and he said, I don't think you understand how high the Raptors are on Jacoby Walter. Like, I don't think you get it where they had him on their board, but they are unbelievably high on this kid.
Yeah.
And
they're not the only ones. They're not the only ones. A lot of teams were.
Absolutely. And so, you know what, I mean, hey, he slipped to 19 in a week draft. So how many teams were really high on him? I don't know. But
they were 4 months before the draft.
Fair. And, you know, 7 months before the draft, people were talking about him like a top 5 pick. 9 months before the draft, he was a top 2 pick and considered the safest pick in the draft. So, hey, he's athletic. He's a movement shooter. And everything that Grady's doing with Scottie, I'm telling you, he can do that too. And the only difference here is Grady's just a little bit taller, but Jacoby's a little bit faster, and Jacoby gets to the line. So, man, if you get 2 of these guys
Yeah.
with Scottie
And IQ.
oh yeah. So, all the spacing issues are gonna be solved. Add in, you got 5 picks in the next 2 drafts. Oh man, the future looks so bright for the Raptors. It's almost blinding. I might need sunglasses.
Right. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like what I saw from Grady's defensively, I heard that he worked out all summer with Ochai, specifically on purpose for Ochai to learn 3-point shooting and for Grady to learn defensive instincts. And boy, you saw the instincts in him. Like last year, you cannot knock Grady Dick for not trying on defense. It's just he was manic out there. He was all over the place. He was running here and there. He was out of position. He was getting lost. The instincts that I saw in this game, like reading the passing lane, seeing the pass before it happened, and being Johnny on the spot. Like he was showing me stuff that I was like, man, if he can be a neutral defender this year, he's a starter for sure. And if he can be a plus defender, like the Raptors could surprise a lot of people, And he showed instincts that plus defenders have. And he's got the size.
I mean, people forget he was the Gatorade National Player of the Year.
For sure.
That's the best player in the country at his age, which should usually translate to a top 3 pick. And Grady also fell to number 13 because some people had concerns over exactly that, his athleticism and whatever. I don't really care what biases that people operate with. I love the fact that the Raptors front office, generally speaking, tries to examine their biases and work around them. And, if people have a bias towards white shooters turning into role players, I think the Raptors saw something much more in Grady than a role player. Even though I myself saw a role player on draft night, I was like, shit, what the fuck have we drafted here? It was after looking at some of his, I think, Sunrise Christian tape that I was just like, okay, I see a vision for much more than a role player here. And the defense, maybe the point of attack defense will never be great. I mean, there's certain limits to what you can do. But he is absolutely capable of being a competitive team defender, which is much more than I can say for Trae Young, Anthony Simons, Tyrese Halliburton, and guys of that nature. So if you can participate, you have enough help here. And Jacoby, on the other hand, is like a very, very positive defender, or at least he projects to be a very positive defender. So maybe he never quite catches up to Grady as a passer, but as a movement shooter, like I just think you're building out this like top 9. And then who knows what you're able to do with some of these pieces. The Raptors are clearly in asset farming, asset accumulation mode right now. But the idea that you're able to do so much with so little, given what you started with, I mean, consider where we were. You lose Christian Coloco, blood clots, lose Jonte Porter, bad decisions, criminal, behavior, lose Malachi Flynn, lose Delano Banton, lose so many players out the door. They don't develop. And then to basically turn Jalen McDaniels into 3 basically young assets, to turn, to get Ulrich Shamshay in the door, to get Jonathan Mobo with that, New York pick, which was a Detroit pick, which was a really underrated part. I mean, shit, I was looking at the ESPN top 100 rankings. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter. I think
probably.
What was it? I think, if I'm not mistaken, RJ was like 53rd or 54th.
Something like
OG
that.
was like 52nd.
Yeah. OG, that was outrageous.
And then you had Immanuel Quickley like 62, and I'm just like, or 66 or something like that. Like basically was splitting hairs. And then I'm like, and we got Jonathan Mobo out of it too. Shit, you gotta love OG, but that deal is a highway robbery. So you know what? After getting cooked on the Jakob Poeltl trade, I think the Raptors have found their mojo. They're doing really well.
I agree, and I mean, like, I'm 100% with you on the timing of the Jakob trade, but like, I'm also trying to look to the future here, and he only just turned 29. Like, he is barely in the edge of the window still. Like, he could actually prove to be a useful piece when the Raptors really are coming into their own. Like, so I'm trying not to be only negative about it. He's a really good player, a really good dude, and like you said, like, the way that the Raptors are drafting Jacoby Walter and Grady Dick and Scottie's in 3-point threats, like, you can get away with playing a Jakob Poeltl. I mean, as long as you're not playing him with, Davion Mitchell or something. Like, although, no, that's not fair. Davion Mitchell had he shot 36% last year. Like it's not terrible. That's average.
It's not super high volume, and he was open for a lot of them.
You're right. Of course, I know that.
Elite spacing offense. So
yeah,
I think
Ochai. Then let's say Ochai. Like Ochai, I love Ochai. His game today was great, but yeah,
I think they both played really well today. I think you probably don't win this game without Davion. You probably don't win this game without Ochai.
yeah,
Like they were
sure.
both great, and I specifically felt like the impact of Ochai when he went on the bench. Like I was like, I usually know when a player is really good when I'm counting down the seconds till him coming back.
Yeah.
Versus I know when a player is bad when I'm dreading when he checks in. Like that's usually like a gut check for me. I know it's not very analytically advanced, but that's how I feel. Okay, that's my feeling. Okay, and I felt nerves when Ochai went to the bench and someone else came in for him. I was like, oh man, I hope we can keep up this Ochai non-Ochai minutes. And that's not a statement that I ever expected to say in my whole life. And I thought Davion played really well today. I think Jamal Shead struggled. I really hope that his injury is nothing serious. I still, there's a channel that I discovered yesterday, and I posted about it on Twitter, and I'm not remembering the name right now, but it's I think it's a former NBA player, and he's a scout now, and he has this great video on. Man, I'm gonna give that channel a proper shout out in the next video. But he has this entire video on undersized guards and what it takes to succeed as an undersized guard, and strength, shooting. But shooting was a prime thing. Like you gotta be able to shoot. Like you have to be able to shoot. Like you don't have to score 25 points per game like Isaiah Thomas, but you definitely do need to be a threat to score. And that element of it is like, okay, like Jamal Shead, Davion Mitchell, which of these guys are gonna become like the lights out shooter? I don't know. But whoever does, they have everything else. With Davion, sometimes like the passing is very impressive. Sometimes it's not. I think the table setting of the offense has been hit or miss. In fairness, he's been also doing it against starting units. Jamal, I think, has a much more natural feel for the game, but his jump shot is very lacking at this point. It would be very ambitious for Jamal Shead to shoot 36% from three this year or next year. For sure. So he needs to figure out that jump shot if he wants a career in the NBA. But I think both have really good defensive instincts. I think where Davion is better on ball, I think Jamal is probably the better overall defender because his off-ball instincts are so incredible, and he tracks the team very well. But I think, when I look back at players like Kyle Lowry and Isaiah Thomas, and I look at any guard who's under 6'1" and see how they succeeded, there's a few things that come to mind: strength, defense, shooting, and table setting, organizing the offense. And so, maybe to some extent, Jamal Shead is just as far away from being the optimal undersized guard as Davion Mitchell is. They're both missing something, right? I just think.
Well, and as Kyle Lowry was at the same age.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people forget that, that Kyle Lowry was absolutely missing a jump shot. There's a reason that Houston traded their starting point guard, Kyle Lowry, for a first-round pick. Like there's a reason for that. And there's also a reason that just a few years later, he was worth much more than a first-round pick. He was worth Ron Artest plus Iman Shumpert plus, a couple of first-round picks. I mean, shit, that's a far cry from the value that he initially netted the Houston Rockets. But I think that's even more so than the value that he netted the initial team that drafted him, which is the Memphis Grizzlies. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that you cannot be an undersized guard who can't shoot. Just can't. And Kyle couldn't shoot. So hopefully Jamal Shead puts in the work. But you know what? I don't even have to hope. I know he will. And I trust that all the kids that they drafted are hard workers. And if anyone doubts that Grady's a hard worker, I mean, shit, look at him. Look at this kid. He's doing this against Derek White and Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like, I mean, shit. I know they didn't play Jrue Holiday, but this is crazy. You know? I mean, this is a guy who was struggling against G Leaguers last year. It's impressive. Very impressive. Very impressive.
Well, I think what you're like, you touched on a little bit, but what we're not just seeing the development of players, we're actually seeing the development of Masai Ujiri and his vision. Like, gone are the days where he was looking for wiry, tall, long, and that's it. Guys who could run like gazelles and jump out of the gym, and that's basically what he was looking for. Like now you're seeing the intelligence, the feel for the game. That's the priority. That's that's it. Like obviously the other intangibles are great, or measurables, I guess, are great too, but it's the intangibles. It's the things that you can't measure that is the priority now. And so back then, like if one of your long, twitchy, wiry guys pans out, like a Pascal Siakam, like that's great. But even if one of those guys really, really, really exceeds expectations, what is his absolute ceiling on this team without the guys who read the game really well? And that's unfortunately that's exactly what happened to Siakam. He was a square peg in a round hole. Like he was really good at what he did, but it's like now.
Sorry, you're cutting out.
And out. Literally, like they're so valuable, so useful on the team, just from every angle. Like you're not stuck with a guy who's gonna just tank your culture or make a boneheaded play, and then the whole bench just like exhales, like And that's why guys like Precious Achiuwa are not on the team anymore. Like he was Masai Ujiri loved Precious, but you can see how he's adapted
I think he loved the idea of Precious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, Daryl, any final thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, last thing. At one moment in the second quarter, I was watching Scottie bring the ball up, and he stopped above the break. And I was kind of looking at another, like I had a split window on my computer because I'm supposed to be working. But I kind of wasn't looking fully, and my heart just literally skipped because for a second there, I was seeing James Harden above the break. The way he was putting the ball through his legs, his handle, and the way that the defender was guarding him. I was like, oh, shoot, this guy thinks Scottie's James Harden. Because he looked like James Harden for a second. And I was just like, all right, his handle, yep, here it is. This is it. He's here. And I mean, thanks to Brian. I mean, all the credit goes to Scottie's work and Brian making for that. But
shout outs to Handle.
Yeah, man.
Life. All right,
absolutely.
I'm gonna put that up here. Handle Life. Yep. We're gonna glance Handle Life for two seconds here. Handle Life. Yep. And to everyone on Reddit that said Scottie needed a new trainer. Y'all look real stupid right now. Okay. All right.
He might be up to 20%. He might be up to 20% now.
Maybe. All right, Daryl. Thanks a lot for calling, man. Appreciate it. Okay, there was another caller. He is gone, but the post game is up. Let's hear it.
Just give them a win. But that was.
Never mind. That's not the post game. My bad. Sorry. I'm trolling. Okay, here we go. Can y'all see me? Wait, can you see me? Am I losing my mind? Can someone say yes, no, maybe, yes, no? Yes, no. Yes, okay. So why are we saying it's canceled? What happened? That's so weird. Am I getting Am I getting demonetized for a post game for real? Or did I get demonetized for those clips earlier on? That's so weird. Okay. Okay. All right. Said stream unavailable. Come on, Rogers. Okay. First of all, I just want to say one thing. Today is our channel's birthday, officially. We started this YouTube channel on. So our birthday is Jakob Pertl's birthday. That's hilarious. You gotta pee. You gotta PUI podcasting under the influence. I thought I was tripping. I was like, man, I don't think I did anything. Rob, you need a Cash App. YouTube is tripping. What does Cash App do for me? I mean, technically, we're in America. We're not in America. So what does Cash App do for me here? Policy violation. I mean, I don't understand what I violated. Anyways, we're not gonna let this dampen the mood. The fact that you guys can still see me, the fact that we still have 400 people in here. If you got any more call-ins, I'm happy to take more call-ins, and the link is in the description. So happy to take any more calls. And yeah, look, I am very thrilled with the direction of this team overall. Okay, it's been a really long time watching this team sort of tread water and trying to maintain some semblance of the championship core or whatever the hell it was, right? And yes, there's still a chance that the Raptors will come out and be very bad this year. There's a chance that they're going to, lean into development and play guys like Jonathan Mobo and, Ochai Abaji, even if it costs you wins. But can you see it? Can you sort of see the vision of what this could become, right? That's the thing. I didn't see the vision of what they were doing 2-3 years ago. I just didn't. I didn't get it. I was like, what are you trying to do? You're trying to develop Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet into Karl Malone and John Stockton? I don't get this. I don't see this. And, who the hell am I to say I believe or don't believe in what you're doing? But, just as a person, I think I have to believe in the long-term vision of what you're trying to accomplish. You may not accomplish it, certainly. I mean, did I understand the vision in Brooklyn when they signed James Harden and Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant and brought them together and tried to win a championship? Sure. I understood that vision. It didn't work out. Did I understand the vision in LA with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George? Yeah, I understood that vision. It doesn't always result in championships. I think, Raptor fans, maybe it's weird to say, 30 years of existence, one championship, we're spoiled. It sounds crazy to say. We've had certainly a lot of disgusting times. We've had a lot of disgusting drafts. We've had a lot of really, really poor management. And I prefer to have gratitude. Whenever possible, I prefer to have gratitude. And gratitude within me says that this team is one that is worth pouring into, worth investing in, worth being patient with. I think that overall, I think Scottie's going to be a top 10 player, hopefully sooner rather than later. I love that all that dribble pull-up work, the self-initiation stuff that he's been working on all off season was on full display tonight. And I expect him to go out and really dominate this year. His 30+% usage is really remarkable, man. I don't know how many of y'all really study the analytics on it, but 30% usage is very, very rarefied air. Okay. For any young player to be getting up that much usage, it's very high leverage stuff. And, very proud of this team tonight. Could have come out, could have folded, could have come out, laid an egg, could have come out, seen the Boston Celtics and said, well, we lost to the B team, we lost to the C team, could have heard the chirping and, come out with a hangover and said this team decided to build on positivity, build on what they established during the second half of the last game, and really came out and smoked the Celtics at their own game. Loved it. Loved the vision of Scottie. Loved the vision of Gradey. Loved the performances from Ochai and Davion tonight. Really felt Jakob Pertl. What a birthday it was for him. 29th birthday for Jakob Pertl with a commanding double-double. And this team will get better. It will get sharper. And, the only question now is how much of a slower start are you going to get off to? Because RJ and Immanuel Quickley haven't built up any chemistry with this unit. But I hope that some of you can see, at least in theory, why I was saying it's so crazy for this team to be pegged as low as they are. They're not bad enough to tank. Not without some deliberate sabotage. It's not easy to tank when you're this good and when you're this connected. And when I look at teams like Brooklyn, when I look at teams like Washington, when I look at teams like Portland, I see a real vision to losing a lot of games. It's not that those teams are so talent deficient. It's largely because they play a losing style of basketball. It's one-on-one. It's a lot of isolation. It's a lot of me basketball, and that's how you lose. A lot of I'm for me, and you can't just keep preaching all this good stuff and expect to keep losing games. So at some point, the tide is going to turn. And as I said earlier in my preseason review, I don't have a dog in this race. If the Raptors come out and win 42 games and make a play-in, or 47 wins and push Orlando for the 6th seed, hallelujah. This is going to be a fun season. And if the Raptors go the other way and they tear it down and trade away Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk or whoever the hell else and rest starters and start resting Gradey and Scottie and different lineups and tank for Cooper Flag, I'm for that too. If you're the Raptors, if you're a Raptor fan right now, you're playing with house money. Enjoy the process. I hope you enjoyed a glimmer of what it could look like tonight. And to those of you who stuck with us the entire way through, 2 hours, 8 minutes, almost got a stream canceled. This was officially our 3-year birthday today. We started this channel 3 years ago, initially to be a voice of reason among Raptor fans. Right now, we're basically waving the pom-poms and being super Raptor fans, because after 3 years of pushing for growth, development, coherent basketball strategy, we got what we asked for. We got young players that we believe in. We got a style of basketball that does not make my eyes want to bleed. And we got this whole thing built around Scottie, and I hope that he'll continue to grow into that role. Eric's POV, shout outs to you, saying, hell yeah, good stream, Rob. Happy birthday, Pensar Basketball. Absolutely. Happy birthday, Pensar Basketball. Started this thing 3 years ago. We've grown to 11,000 plus subscribers. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, definitely consider doing so. It helps us out a lot. If you haven't liked this video, consider liking this video a lot. And thank you for all your support through all these years. And we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep putting our foot on their neck, as Scottie Barnes would say in this exact moment. What did Scottie Barnes say after he won Rookie of the Year? I'll remind you. He said, got to keep going. And I think it was Katie who asked him, are you going to take a rest? He's like, no, I already took my deep breath. I already took my rest. It's time to keep going. Time to put my foot on their neck. And that's when you knew that you had a future all-time great in Toronto again. And that's when I knew. I mean, I knew a long time ago, but that's when it really cemented it home for me. That mentality. And now you got that guy, that selfless leader leading your team. And it's just going to bleed over to your entire locker room. So I'm looking forward to this team. I really, I'm like, maybe it's like my Asperger's acting up, but I really want to finish this Darko interview, but I also don't want to get the stream demonetized. Can I do it with pauses? Cheyenne Syed saying, Rob, why did it take you so long to start a channel? Post-game streams in 2019 would have been dope. That's the thing people don't realize, and I'll comment on that just in a bit. I mean, Joe Mazzulla often preaches 50 plus, so I don't know how much higher than 43 you're gonna get.
I don't think there is a
Okay. Sorry, I keep stopping it. I just don't want to get copyright flagged, but I do want to complete this because it feels like I just left Darko on unread. Great stuff, and good. I'm glad we finished that. Sorry, it's very OCD of me, but it felt weird to leave that on unread. And wait, there was why did it take you so long to start this channel? So post-game streams in 2009 would have been dope. I completely agree. And I watched other channels, in 2019, and the 100% truth of this is I was terrified of being in front of a camera. And now I do this every single day. Tomorrow I will be on the panel, Player's Choice, and I think like 15,000, 12,000 people watch that show every single day. And a lot of them don't like you, and a lot of them have negative things to say about you. And honestly, putting yourself in front of the camera was not like, I know some people who love that. I'm not one of those people. I mean, if I could do this without my face, I would. It's scary, and it's not something that I ever thought I'd be good at. And it wasn't until 2019 when I had a brain tumor that I started doing vlogs. And the vlogs were not promotion or self promotion or anything like that. It was just a monitor to my speech because after the brain surgery, I was very stuttery. And I was doing these vlogs, and what I would do is I would start talking about things, and I was like, "This is fun," and I started posting it on Facebook, and that's the first time I've ever done anything of that sort, and I'm really bad at this. Like I've been terrified of cameras my whole life. Like I don't want to pose for pictures. I certainly do not want you taking a video of me. If you're a friend of mine and you've tried to take a video of me at a party, I'm usually the person like putting my head down. I just don't like it. And to do this in front of, thousands and thousands of people, and Pantera Basketball has registered over 7 million views. To have people in my building stopping me and saying, what they think about my basketball takes is so weird to me. Like, I mean, I used to do radio work like way back when, and I used to have a teacher of mine that used to tell me about like what he thought of my basketball takes when I was 19, 20 years old, 18 years old. And that was weird enough to me. But that's radio. That's not your face. And this is weirder because I can go to a game and people can see me. And I don't know. I was not a fan. But anyways, I registered that after a while of being really bad at it and being really scared of it, I became better at it. And then I got invited onto a show from the Facebook groups that I was constantly posting in about the Raptors. And I had very strong takes about Scottie Barnes being like the future of the league and the future of the team and why the Raptors need to draft Scottie Barnes over this bum Jalen Suggs. I like Jalen Suggs much more than I do. I like Jalen Suggs more today than I did pre-draft. And yeah, so then eventually prior to the Scottie Barnes draft, this small channel with probably 300 subscribers invited me on to talk. And then after that, Basketball Zone, which is by my friend Leo Bias, who covers the Sacramento Kings, they found me and they found one of the videos there and they invited me on. And then after a while, I think it was Raptors Republic that reached out to me about potentially coming on and running a show for them. And it was at that moment that I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this for somebody else, I might as well do it for myself. And that's when Pantera Basketball was born. So, yeah. Liam saying, very inspiring. Thank you to overcome. Yes. Deshane, thank you for calling in last time. Your perspective for basketball is very unique. You're very straight up. Yeah. I'm a very bad liar. Cheyenne Sayed saying, if you're great at it, Rob, if I was even half as good as you, I'd be happy. Yeah, I'm nothing yet, and it's funny because my girlfriend and I was just literally talking about this today about the top down approach versus this. My girlfriend has this nagging habit of saying things are better than, higher than, or lower than. She'd be like, oh, this person's at a higher level of thinking, or this person's at a lower level of thinking. And I actually said today, I don't think that way. I don't think that this person's better or worse or anything like that. Like I can acknowledge that Joe Rogan is a better podcaster than me. I can acknowledge that I have a very long way to go. I can acknowledge when, Thinking Basketball knows more about basketball than me. And, shout outs to Ben. I can always acknowledge that. But I don't like to think of things in terms of like a vertical alignment of better or worse. I actually like to think of things more in terms of a spread. So, like your awareness of any one thing, your experience of any one thing can just spread. And so looking at it from the top down, you don't think of things in the, mountaintop, mountain bottom version or variant of it. Rather, you just think more experience, more growth, more introspection will eventually lead to better results. So yeah, and I'm not insanely weird to say that someone who played sports their whole life would not be competitive, but I'm not a very zero sum thinker. So, like it means a lot to me that this show is as popular as it was. It meant a lot to me last year that we were beating Raptors today or Raptors tonight in terms of numbers. Like we were beating Raptors tonight on the regular as the Raptors were losing last year. It was crazy to me, like 4,000 views versus 2,000 views. And that meant a lot to me because that's a very big show. And I'm going to tell you something. We've done this without Sportsnet. We've done this without TSN. We've done this without the big media push. We've done this while actually most of the media hates my guts, and that gives me a lot of joy. And we've done this without any boost from the 2019 championship. You're right. It would have been a very different equation if we had been around 2019, because every single 500 person live that we have right now would have been 1,500 person live. So, anyways, you got to start from somewhere. We've covered some really, really, really struggling Raptor teams, but it is my goal to see this entire career of Scottie Barnes and Gradey Dick and all these young kids through, and I can't wait to see them grow. And I can't wait to see them shut everybody up. I can't wait to see everybody look stupid for where they have Scottie ranked in the regular season. I can't wait to get on Players' Choice and talk my shit tomorrow, and give Chilltown Hoops hell for how Scottie Barnes cooked his boy Jayson Tatum. And again, this is how we do it, right? I mean, a lot of NBA players have checked out our stuff. That's the cool influence of Pantera basketball. Is like, I see it. Like Jamal Shed sees our stuff. Gradey Dick sees our stuff. Like we got players checking out our stuff all the time, and I love it. I hope that, I mean, we saw that video with Scottie Barnes on Twitch saying, yeah, hell yeah, I see Pantera basketball, all that stuff. So that's great, man. Without any of the official plugins, without any of the red tape of Sportsnet or press passes or whatever, we have made a dent, and I love it. And we have changed some stuff in this community, and I love it. So thank you. And the chat on the panel always be talking shit. Yeah, man. They do always talk shit. The Scottie shout out is legendary. Yeah, for sure, man. But I mean, like, he's been seeing our stuff for years. He knows he knows we support him. He's damn. Yeah. Yeah. He's known we've been supporting him since like 2020, bro. Absolutely. Rob needed to wake everyone up, especially with Fred VanVleet. It's funny. So often as time has gone by, I find myself defending Fred VanVleet more than anything, because I emphasize so much with being an undersized guard. Just the other day, we were talking about him in Houston, and I don't know. It's sad the way that it worked out. I wish it didn't have to work that way. You have a bunch of NBA champions. I wish they could have embraced Scottie as the future of this team and grown with him. That would have been beautiful. It certainly would have been a hell of a lot easier than trying to rebuild everything from scratch. But you know what? You can't buy in. You want Scottie to be your screen and roller. You want Scottie Barnes to be some sort of Draymond Green clone because that's what you were told. Well, shit, that's not who he's going to be. And he doesn't have to fit into a box just because you're an all-star and you won a championship here, And I think that's the problem, right? The number of fans that supported the Raptors from 2014 to 2021, basically before they started to fall off, just outnumbers the number of fans who came in after that, So whenever you run a poll on who's better between so-and-so and so-and-so, the consensus wins. And unfortunately, the media, as I've outlined 1,000 times before, at the end of the day, they're counting their dollars and cents. They are counting clicks, they're counting views, they're counting ad revenue. And ad revenue would have been better with Kevin Durant than Scottie Barnes. Ad revenue would have been better with Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam than this guy. Ad revenue, frankly, and continuity would have been much better with Nick Nurse than Darko Rajakovic. But I will always applaud the Toronto Raptors for tearing things down when it was not obvious they needed to tear things down. I mean, it was obvious to me. Hopefully it was obvious to you, but it was not like crisis mode. And I appreciate that they pulled the plug before they absolutely crapped out. I mean, they crapped out a little bit with the Jakob Poeltl trade and, holding the bag with Fred VanVleet and maybe depleting the trade value of Pascal Siakam. But I'm really glad that we're seeing glimpses of that vision. So thank you so much to everybody. Thank you a million to Jay Powell. Rob, you should drink before every live. I'm loving the energy. I'm not drunk. I'm just a little bit less uptight. So that's cool. 2K teacher, again, Barnes and Grady's chemistry on full display. Love this comment. Absolutely. And that's one of the major takeaways from this game is just seeing how those two work off each other and the natural basketball synergy. The homie Nick, so nice that I watched every minute of Sunday's game, but missed seeing this game. So I hope you catch it soon. Paradise Lost, Cast 2929, and Noble Venom. Of course, all of these are longtime supporters. So appreciate all of you for making Pantera basketball community for what it is. And I hope you have a great night. It was a good day. All right, talk to you later. And make sure to like this video on your way out. I super appreciate it. Brian interview 3.0 coming. honestly, at this point, I you know what the interview would be like? It would just be like me being like, all right, just talk your shit. Just talk your shit. Just talk your shit, you know? Like just tell the people you were right all along. I mean, shit. We sat here and we told you this guy was gonna be like a future MVP. You think we were kidding? Like he's really good. Like he's a really good player. Anyways, talk to you guys later, and thanks a lot for tuning in.